Hello, Christ-led Christians. It's Christ-led Shaq, and I'm back here with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about my story. But before we even jump into the video, let's go ahead and jump into a prayer. If you want to go ahead and bow your heads with me. Father, thank you for allowing us to be able to come together today and just be able to hear what you have done in my life, Father. I just pray that anyone who is listening right now, they hear my story and they can come to you, or they can share their story as well, Father. I thank you for everything, and this world it's slowly going down the drain, but I pray that you will call your people, Father, and allow those to also gather your people, and just allow us to be lighthouses for you, Father. And we love you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Y'all, let me look at this time real quick. It's 12:48, midnight. Kind of had a long day already today. I just left my, I wouldn't say left my job. I'm getting a better, I wouldn't say better. I'm going to become full-time, but I just left my part-time job, and I love those people dearly. They were like family, and so it was pretty tough. I already had some tears. Let's try not to have no tears during this testimony, but I just want to speak about my testimony. I want to keep it short and quick, not too quick, but not too short. But let me tell you about my story. Also, if there is anything that you are needing prayers about, just let me know in the comments. And also, I have an Instagram strictly for this YouTube channel. If you DM me on there, I should plug the Instagram like down here somewhere. My editing me, I don't know. It should be in the bio, not bio. It should be in the description under this video. If you want to just go on there, go ahead, give me a follow, and just hit me up if you ever need any prayer, and I'll give you a call or I'll text you back, whatever. But I know the Lord will make it work, and He will make it happen. But anyways, let's jump into my story. So this is gonna start. It's gonna be just bits and pieces of places that have happened. So as a kid, I was the middle child and everything. So I really felt, I guess, neglected. I felt as if my parents were not really seeing me for who I was. I felt as if I kind of got my stuff pushed to the side. And if you are a middle child, you understand what I'm saying. Like you kind of feel as if you are not seen. And so I felt as I wasn't seen. Now, let's go back some years before I became a middle child. My parents were not devout Christians at all. I'm pretty sure they knew about Christ, but they were not proclaiming them to us, or to me and my sister. And so at the age of 8, I lost my meemaw due to suicide. I didn't know it was due to suicide at the time, but it was 6 days before my birthday, and so it really hit me hard. It hurt when I lost her. I didn't quite understand. I didn't know, but after that had happened, it was my dad's mother, and he was affected by it the most. He went on a spiral, became a heavy alcoholic, and I mean heavy. Arguing with my mom and them having fights almost every night, something ending up broke. It was a horrible place to be as a child, I guess. And then eventually we ended up moving into a house. They ended up having a baby. I ended up having a new sister and everything. So that was really a blessing and everything. But yet my dad, every time my meemaw's birthday would come up, or anytime the anniversary of her death would come up, he would kind of just go down that rabbit hole and just became depressed, and just became alcoholic, and it was bad. It was bad. We would have to bail him out of jail. We would have to. I was up late at night with my mother, going on scourges just to see where he was at, and it was not a good childhood. So when they say childhood trauma is a real thing, it's a real thing. Now we fast forward some years, and I inhabited a porn addiction to fill that hole of my Meemaw leaving, because I later on figured out that she died due to suicide. If I didn't already say that. Yeah, no, she died due to suicide, and it tore me to pieces because I believe that I was the cause of that suicide. So I ran to this porn addiction because of something that I seen on television. I believe, a sex scene, and it caused me to really just wonder and have a curious mind, and just want to know what that was about. And so I created a 10-year habit going back and forth to these sites that I shouldn't have been on, especially as a young kid, only in the 4th grade. And we got the gospel shared to us by my mother's mom, my grandma, and I could care less, because for one, I wasn't a big reader, and then 2, it was kind of boring to me, I can say. I didn't really, want to know about God, but like, I feel like that's every child. We don't quite really want to learn about God. You just want to have fun. And so I'm having this habit going on for years, and all this stuff, and I eventually, I'm leaving some stuff out, but I am the middle child, and I'm getting neglected, so I'm running to this habit even more to fill my void, fill my hole. And so I get to high school, and I am now learning about relationships. I'm learning about how to handle relationships, and not how to handle relationships, but wanting to be in a relationship and everything, wanting to pursue a relationship. But since my mind was so messed up and was fractured, and because of me watching pornography, I believed that was the right way to have a relationship, by having sex with these girls and everything. I didn't have sex at that time, but that's the way I viewed women. I viewed women as items. I did not view them as anything else but items. Like, oh, once I get you, oh, you're mine. Like, you're never going nowhere. And so the first relationship I'm in, it's not the best, like, I would talk to her and everything, but I didn't truly like her. I didn't truly want to be in a relationship with her. I just wanted to have her as, I guess, a body. That sounds horrible. That's bad, I know, but that's what I seen, because that is what I was filling my mind with all those years. And so me and this girl, we end up doing some stuff we were not supposed to. We split up and everything, and my junior year rolls around, and my friends are peer pressure, man. They're like, oh, you haven't had sex yet? Like, why? Like, bro, that's crazy. You gotta have sex, or you can't be one of our boys and all that stuff. So I believe that and everything. And so I hit that girl back up and everything. She was on board to have relations, and we ended up doing it multiple times, and it did not lead to anywhere good. Me and this girl did not get back together. Shoot, we didn't even have a friendship afterward, and it made everything awkward. And so my mind filled with just pornography, it led me to just looking at relationships differently. And that was until I met this girl, and my senior year, and she was amazing, and like I didn't even see her as like an item. Like she had her own personality and all that stuff, and like I truly believed that I was gonna marry this girl. And so um I'm talking to her and all that stuff, and I'm telling her about my Christianity and all that, because I believe that was a lady puller. I believe I could pull females by talking about my beliefs and my religion, because I don't know, I thought that was the right way. And so me and this girl end up eventually getting together and everything, and we said we wouldn't do it until marriage. We ended up folding in 3 months. We ended up folding in 3 months. Just, it was madness. It was bad. So like we kept doing it. We kept just pursuing that and not really each other. And then my mom got a curious mind, and she asked me, "Oh, son, are you having sex?" And me about to leave in a few months to go to college and everything, I was like, I'm about to be out the house. She really can't stop me from doing nothing. And so I told her, like, yeah, I am having sex, mom. Da 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 da. And then I didn't tell her I was doing it with that girl. I told her I did it with somebody else before. But mothers are not stupid. They put two and two together, or she put two and two together, and let's just say it didn't go as planned. I just believed in telling the truth, because I was always known as a liar all my life. I don't, that's the natural sin that everyone is born with. You just become liars, and you lie about things to get out of certain situations, certain outcomes. And so I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to be honest with her. And so she put two and two together. She figured out that me and such and such were doing it. And she told me, like, that's not right, da da da. And then she went and told my dad. And my dad, now being the devout Christian that he was, not a drinker, not an alcoholic, not a sinner anymore. I mean, of course he sins, but he wasn't habitually sinning. But my dad was hard on me about it. He was like, like, that's not right. You shouldn't treat females like this and all that stuff. But me engraving in my mind pornography, I'm seeing one thing different from what he is teaching me. Because me and my dad's relationship at that point, it was never good. Like, things have happened with me and my dad, and I resented him for it. I hated my dad. I couldn't stand the man. I wish my mom would have divorced him when we were going through all that stuff back when we were younger. That's what I did wish when I wasn't saved, of course. And so, like, I didn't want to hear that crap from my dad. I was like, whatever, and all this stuff. They're telling me, oh yeah, you need to tell her mom, all that, and if you don't, we're gonna tell her mom. And so I got scared and all that stuff. I told old girl, I told her, she got scared and basically was like, oh, well, we might have to break up and all that stuff. And that was the first time she mentioned breakup. And for me, when I'm in a relationship, there is no such thing as breaking up. I'm sorry. If we are in a relationship, we can't break up, because if we are to get married, divorce is not an easy thing. And so I'm basically trying to explain that to her. She's not really hearing it. She's having a childish mindset. And I guess I'm having a childish mindset too, because I'm like, well, we don't even got to tell your mom. You feel me? Because, like, it doesn't really pertain her. It don't matter. And so I ended up never telling her mom. She never told her mom. But by me telling my parents, it caused a split in our relationship. She viewed my parents as seeing her differently, seeing her as a non-innocent woman, and she started running, I guess, if that's good to say. She started running and everything. She loved me and everything, I believed, but she just wanted to have the likings of my parents, and that's what she viewed the most. And so we stopped. We kind of stopped doing what we were doing. We would hang out and everything, but she wasn't really cuddling, kissing, touchy like we used to be. And so I started getting nervous, getting the enemy to tell me lies and stuff like, oh, she's cheating on you, oh, she's talking to other people, oh, she's not interested in you anymore. And so I believed those things, and like I was starting to get on her butt, ride her butt, and be like, why are you like this? Like, you were never like this before, da da da. And then eventually it led to our first breakup. Now, when this led to our first breakup, mind you, I was in college, or I was now starting off college. And so I was, like, I learned about Christ, I learned about God and all this stuff, but it was more of a forced thing, I felt, for me, because my parents were kind of making me like, oh, you have to go to youth, you have to go and experience youth because you won't understand the adult message and everything. And that is very true. I did not understand the adult message. So I went to youth and everything before I got to college. And, I had doubts in my mind that God wasn't real, because there are all these other religions out here, and who is to say that our religion is the correct one and all that. It is. If you have doubts about that, it is the correct one. I'm sorry, I gotta just say that. But I was having doubts about that, and I was like, how can I say it's the correct one and all that stuff? And then I still resented my father because of all the things he did in my life. And I was like, how can Christ save someone so dirty? Like, there's no possible way Christ could save somebody that dirty. And my mom would be like, oh my, you're like your dad, because I was built on anger. I built myself on anger. I felt like anger was the only way to get me out of situations, get me out of problems. I felt like anger was the way. And so I would build myself on anger. And every time she would say that, like, I would get angry. And right then and there, I would prove her point. I was like, I looked like my dad when he was a habitual sinner. And so I hated when she said that. And it just upset me and everything. And so now we can get to college. Now I got to college and everything. I'm broken up. Me and this girl are not together. I was going through it pretty tough. I started vaping. I started smoking weed. I started drinking and going to parties and just, talking to all types of other females and all this stuff, and trying to just fill that void of her being gone and also the absence of my Meemaw. And so now I'm doing these things and all that stuff, and I'm talking to this other female and end up doing things that I shouldn't have done with her. And then my ex comes back, and I'm willing to drop this other female for my ex. And so I dropped the other female in a heartbeat for my ex. And my ex, she ended up coming back and all that stuff. We ended up rekindling, and we rekindled the wrong way. We literally rekindled hooking up. And I should have seen the red flag there, but I did not. I ignored it. And so we explained to each other what has happened in our lives, what has been going on and all that. And basically, I kind of told her, like, I still want to involve Christ into this relationship. I really do. But I wasn't really being true about that. I still wanted to have sex with her. I still wanted to do those things, bad things with her and everything. And so, because when you are young, you believe, oh, I still have time. I still have all this time in my world to do these things, and then I'll be able to connect with Christ, connect with Jesus. That's not true. And so then me and this girl, we were together for a while and everything, and then I did something to her. I'm not going to explain what, but I hurt her bad, and she just viewed me as a totally different person. Totally different person. She said she loved me and everything. She said she forgave me and everything, but it was so much for her that she had to break up with me again. And so we broke up again, and once again, I'm like, oh my gosh, man, she just keeps breaking up with me. And so once again, I fall into drugs. I start doing shrooms, you guys, shrooms. I start doing shrooms. I did weed. I was going to parties and drinking and talking to all these other females just to try to fill that hole once again of brokenness, of emptiness. And you know, I was getting angry and all that stuff, and just like, why does she keep on leaving me? Why? Da da da. I don't understand. I'm the perfect guy for her. I'm the perfect man for her. I was not. And so then she was doing the same thing. And so we ended up talking to each other. And then I was like, yes, please take me back. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be the same, you know. Like, I got Christ and all that stuff. And I let my parents know about all this stuff, and I like, we basically sat down, and I told him, like, Dad, like, I hated you, da da da, all this stuff, and like, Mom, you were always babying me, and like, I could never, you know, get words out on my own. I couldn't really be my own person because you was always babying me in front of Dad and all that stuff. And so and then I also told them like how I hurt this girl and all that stuff. And so they prayed for me. They've been constant praying for me and all that stuff. And so those prayers were much needed and everything. And so I felt the presence of the Lord that night, and it was thick, it was deep, it was crazy. If you've never felt the presence of the Lord, it is amazing. And so instead of chasing Christ, I started chasing that feeling. I wanted to feel that feeling again. I want to feel God's presence again. And so I was chasing that feeling, you know, thinking I'm chasing God, thinking I'm chasing Christ. And one of my friends died due to a car accident, hit and run, and it broke me. It broke me mentally, and I was just such in shock, like, no way, like, why has this happened, you know? And the relationship I thought I was pursuing with God slowly dwindled away, and I became angry again, and I was taking it out on my ex because, you know, she took me back again. And then eventually we end up breaking up again because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're not communicating with me, da da da, like, you know, I'm just so broken right now. I've lost my Meemaw, I've lost my one of my close friends, I lost my cousin. Like, I'll keep on losing people, and yet you're not communicating with me, you're not being there for me when I need you. And so and so she ended it with me. And I was like, you know what, whatever, I don't care. I was telling my parents, I was walking real high, I don't care, like, she doesn't matter to me, da da da. But yet the whole time over here texting her, trying to get her back and everything, trying to win her back and everything. And so I ended up getting her back. We're not together and everything, but we are living life as if we are together. And then she was just like, oh, it's gonna take time, God's timing, da da da. And so I was like, man, how much more of God's timing is she gonna say? And so eventually she does take me back and all, and you know, things are actually going good. You know, I'm pursuing God, or trying to pursue God. She's trying to pursue God, but she was basically telling me, like, your relationship with God is yours and mine is mine. And so I was like, what about the relationship together? Like, we need to build this relationship, this foundation on Jesus, like, together. Like, let me come to your events, you can come to my events. And she was kind of, no, I just want it to be my events. And so she kind of got into this selfish mood, and I got angry about it because that's all I know. I've known anger all my life. And so I got angry about it and all that stuff. And I would trip. I would say things under my breath. I would, cuss at her and all this stuff. And it was bad. And so it kept going on. And then we eventually got to, I believe, 2 days before our anniversary. And I just wanted her to come over so I can communicate how I was feeling towards her. And she ended up ending it with me that day. I just remember just being hurt. And I was like, are you serious? Like, I've been trying my hardest to just walk with God, walk with Jesus and all this stuff. And yet you're just going to end it with me like it's nothing. And so I didn't run to anything else, When I finally got that freedom, when I finally moved out of my parents' house, I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing, and I knew it was wrong. I definitely knew it was wrong, but I was like, man, I got that freedom now. And eventually I was like, okay, this freedom is causing me to be financially broke. broke like no joke, you feel me? And so I was like, all right, yeah, I need to stop this. And so then I stopped doing all that stuff, and I was like, all right, God, let me hear from you. Let me hear you, and just I wanna stop being this angry person. I wanna stop living this life of sin. And so I remember asking my sister, hey, like, you do devotionals and all that stuff, like, what devotionals do you do? And she told me, oh, I just go on the Bible app and I just do these devotionals. And I was like, all right. And so I checked them out. I checked the anger devotionals out and all that, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And so it wasn't enough to fill that void. And so I was like, you know what, let me actually get in my word. Let me actually get in my Bible, and let me actually just start reading and talking to God and trying to have a relationship with him before I have a relationship with anyone else. And so I was at first pursuing Jesus to get back with my ex and everything. And then when I truly started like reading his word and going to church consistently, almost daily, almost weekly, I was like, man, Jesus is actually way more better than I expected and everything. And my life started changing drastically, just flipping from upside down, and Jesus really started working in my life. And so, I'm like, all right, I think I'm ready. I think I'm finally ready to come back to this girl. And so I ended up messaging her. I ended up like calling her, trying to see what she's on and everything, figure out what she's doing. And I really couldn't get anything out of her. That went on for a while, and I was like, whatever, I can't. And so then I started chasing relationships and and this and that. And then I ended up fasting for about a week, and God like revealed like relationships to me, not just as like me and a girl, but me and others, and how to have relationships with them and how to have a relationship with him. And so I was like, wow, okay, all right, Jesus, I'm starting to understand it. And so he's built my patience up. I'm not an angry person anymore. I do get angry from time to time, but I'm not living my life on anger. I'm living my life in Jesus. And so he has allowed me to do amazing things through him. He has allowed me to become a youth leader at my church that I am at. He has allowed me to host Bible studies, and just enabled me to be able to finally like reading and everything, because I used to not like reading. Like, reading was a pain for me. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'm ready for a relationship now. And I don't think I am. I'm still not ready for a relationship. He's revealing that to me. But it's just, that is my testimony. Like, all those things were happening. I was running to all these things just to fill a void, just to feel something in my life, feel the presence of the Lord, which now I'm literally dwelling in. But it's not even that. It's because I want to have a relationship with Jesus. It's the wanting, it is the desire. He has gave me a burning desire inside to always want to have a relationship with him. And so my story is kind of just like also encouragement to those who are struggling as well, with relationships, struggling with anger, struggling with parents and forgiveness. Like, you have to forgive. You have to not seek relationship, but seek relationship with Jesus. You have to be patient. Ask God to give you patience, and you know, he will do those things for you. But you have to seek Jesus. And if you don't hear anything that I've said today, hear that you have to seek Jesus. Remember this. Being Christ-led is not being under a category of Christianity. It is to walk like him, talk like him, and be made in his image. We are called to look more like Jesus. I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but definitely work to be perfect. Work to have a relationship with Jesus. So that's my story. That's my testimony. It's not anything sporadic. Like, oh my gosh, I was stabbed to death and on my deathbed. Now my story is not like that, but that is my story. That's what God has done and what he's doing in my life now. And he has really, really been such a therapeutic thing for me. And I get comfort knowing that he has my side. So remember this. God loves you, and I love you as well. And Christ-led shot, and I'm out. Peace.